I spent some of this weekend looking back at my childhood and reflecting upon the journey that brought me here to this place. And I got a bit of a chuckle because honestly, when I look at my childhood, I had what you might call a flannel graph childhood. Anyone know what I mean by flannel graph? Yeah. If you grew up in an evangelical tradition, they would have these Sunday school stories with these little flannel graphs. And that was my childhood. It was picture perfect. I was the good Christian kid. I went to a good Christian school. It's part of a really good local evangelical church. And that was kind of my thing. I started in ministry at the age of 13 doing camp ministry, and when I graduated from high school, even though I was top of my class, I did the good Christian thing. I gave up all my scholarships to become a missionary. I know. Youth is wasted on the young, isn't that what they say? But I had this incredible church behind me, these people who stood with me. They stood behind me. They financially supported me. They prayed for me. They championed me. They were so close that many of them who are not even relatives, we called them aunt and uncle because they were just that close. They were family. And I knew as I went into this uncertain world as a brave missionary, God help us all, I knew that they loved me and they would be with me no matter what. Or not. It's probably a bit predictable for some of you what happened next. I came out. I embraced a fully affirming theology. And now that church no longer calls me family. They no longer stand behind me. They no longer support me. And if they do pray for me, it's probably to save my soul. I'll take it. But the most painful thing is that after a lifetime, they cut me off from the community that was the source of my life, my relationships, and my family. They were courteous. They were friendly with their rejection. But the polite executioner leaves you no less dead. I had transgressed the boundaries of prescribed belief and sanctioned behavior. And the price they exacted was my place among them, my belonging. And I learned a costly lesson that opened my eyes about belonging, about community that I've carried with me. And I think they're lessons that many of us have probably shared. And so I've seen the nature of conditional community. And I want to describe it to you, and I'm sure as you hear it, if it's something that resonates with me, let me know. Conditional community leverages fear to coerce conformity and control. Conditional community justifies oppression in the name of the so-called greater good. Conditional community dresses up condemnation and calls it love. Yes. Conditional community demands our silence, then appropriates our voice for their purpose. Amen. Conditional community builds upon positional authority, denying the possibility of mutuality. Conditional community colonizes normal, seeking to reduce our differences to deviance. Conditional community will claim compassion while denying their complicity in injustice and oppression. Yes. Yeah, it does. And above all, conditional community weaponizes belonging, demanding our silent obedience in a bid to achieve a corrupted unity that is little more than empty uniformity. And yet it was only when I transgressed those boundaries that I began to see a different kind of community. And I think, again, those of us in this room have caught glimpses of that transgressive community. Again, let me know as I describe that transgressive community if you're familiar with it. Transgressive community works for liberty through the celebration of diversity and an abiding belief in the sacred power of human agency. Transgressive community knows that only through freedom from fear are we able to truly love our truest selves. And let's face it, and I need some call and response here, if you can't love yourself, how the hell can you love anybody else? Can I get an amen? Amen. Preach. Transgressive community seeks out the voices that are missing, silenced, and appropriated, so often finding in them the prophetic wisdom we so desperately need.
That's right.
Transgressive community knows that our liberation, that my liberation is caught up with yours, that no voice is incidental, and that in welcoming the other, we welcome the divine. Transgressive community celebrates the disruptive of the normative, made manifest in the glorious mystery of our queerness. Transgressive community knows that a justice without compassion is no justice at all, and that compassion without justice is no compassion at all. And above all, the transgressive community knows that it is only in the rich soil of unconditional belonging that we can truly flourish. I'm not claiming we've achieved that perfectly here, but we see it. We capture it in these moments. We experience it when we sit across the table and share food with one another. As we raise our voices in song and laughter together. As we move our bodies together in unbridled dance. I'm still getting there. And as we discover parts of ourselves in the story of another. And as we catch these glimpses, we are energized to put our shoulders to the arc of history and bend it towards justice.
That's right.
To bend it towards love.
Come on.
For some of us, that feels impossible. It's a burden too great to bear, and I get it. I've been there. But don't worry, you don't have to do it alone.
That's right.
We do it together. Because as a great wise person once said, and yes, I'm looking at you, Liz, queer identity may be discerned in relative isolation, but it comes to life in community.
That's right.
Directly following this message, I'm rushing off to the airport to fly home to be with my family in Winnipeg. I'm getting out of the airplane, getting in a car, and driving to my parents' place for my dad's 70th birthday. Very exciting. But it also means that I'm going to be spending tomorrow in a house full of people who rejected me from their church. Not my parents, but many of their friends. And that has been weighing on me. But I have hope. Because of you. Because I know, as we said in another meeting, hope is greater than fear. That love is greater than hate. And because above all, I know that I am beloved and I belong. You are beloved and you belong. Now I want us to say that and not miss that as a generalized statement of truth, but look each other in the eyes and say that with the specificity and the particularity of the person you're looking at. You are beloved and you belong. Let's do it. It's a total love fest in here. All right, let me say it again. We are all going to go from this place today, and we can hold on to the hope that even if we may go home alone, we are not alone.
That's right.
We are beloved, and we belong, and there's not a damn thing anyone can do about it. Thank you.